Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Taylor Campbell and welcome back to Comic Crash, my little show on the internet where we talk about comic books and stuff. Also, we are talking about Batman. Yeah, I was able to go to a preview showing of the movie with a bunch of my friends. It was fun. I showed up wearing a Superman costume because I just thought that would be funny to go to a Batman movie dressed as Superman. And you know what? It was very, very fun. Anyway, let's talk about this movie because my goodness, do I have thoughts. Yeah, we're going to play it pretty fast and loose here. Just going for it. First of all, this movie is really, 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 really good. My goodness, that was a good, good movie. I had so much fun watching that. I mean, like the story was really good. The characters had actual character arcs. I felt like all of the characters grew and changed and learned things, and it felt organic. And then just the visual style of the movie. Holy cow! This movie was just gorgeous to look at. So good. Like as far as filmmaking is concerned, this is an excellent movie. Definitely worth all of the man hours that were put into it. It is also probably the most disturbing Batman movie I've ever seen. We all thought that the Dark Knight trilogy was particularly dark, and that the Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker, that was dark. Yeah, but it had nothing on just how dark and scary this movie allowed itself to become. If you're looking at checking out that movie and going to theaters and watching that, I would urge you to keep that in mind. It's really kind of pushing the envelope of what a PG-13 movie is allowed to have, I would say. There's not really any risque bits, but you do see a lot of elements of horror. You see a lot of torture put into it. You see a lot of emotional manipulation. It's it's scary. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. And yeah, be careful if you have a weak stomach. Maybe hold off on this one. Wait for the home release so that you can watch it at your own pace, maybe. Whew. But let's go ahead and talk about the movie itself. So the basics of the story is that Batman has been around for roughly a year now. He's in year 2 and trying to be Batman. The world that we immediately go to is one that is very, very scared of Batman. Like, we have this montage of all of these criminals and crooks just being scared of any shadow that they come across because any of these shadows could be Batman. And that's how the city is run. It is run by fear of Batman. Meanwhile, we have this election going on in the background where one of the mayor candidates is pointing out that Gotham hasn't really improved that much in the past year. Batman is around, yeah, that's neat, but it's not necessarily better. Crime is still pretty rampant, and the only difference is that people seem to be afraid of going out at night now. We also have the police. The police don't trust Batman except for Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Gordon plays a pretty prominent role in the movie. And yeah, villains, heroes, really interesting stuff. Batman himself, Batman was very, very grounded in this. I know that the whole Dark Knight's premise was, oh, this is Batman if he were to actually exist. You know what? I believe Robert Pattinson's Batman could exist, legitimately. He's not. It doesn't look like a guy who's taking advantage of military contracts or a guy who has all the best gadgets and engineering happening. He, I could believe that this guy exists. I could believe he would get a muscle car and he would soup it up to be the Batmobile. I could believe that the kinds of gadgets he has could exist. He's not very gadget reliant, but the ones he does have feel realistic, and grounded is the best word I can give it to him. His story, Batman's story is that he's, angry, he is vengeance, he declares himself vengeance to everybody, and that's just kind of the name that people know him by. Uh, Several times in the story, you would have other characters like Catwoman or Commissioner Gordon call him vengeance just directly, and that's the kind of person that he is, and it's neat. From that point, Batman ends up growing and changing with the theme of the movie. The theme of the movie is this theme of like the past is the past, and you can't really vengeance your way through it because vengeancing the past doesn't help anyone. It just ruins the present. So Batman kind of changes from this very vengeful character to someone who is trying to embody hope within Gotham. And it was cool. It was probably the strongest character arc I think we've seen Batman have in a Batman movie. It's not like The Dark Knight where his whole character arc is I'm Batman and I'm the good guy. It's not like Batman Begins where it's I'm Batman and I just am or anything. It's like it has real substance, has real change with it, and it's contrasted very beautifully by Catwoman, who is in the movie, and kind of has like the opposite arc to Batman. She's like working towards getting a better life at the beginning of it. She's working to get answers to her past, becomes very vengeful, and at the end just stays bitter, which was a really interesting foil against Batman. And it was something that I thought was really cool and really helped accentuate Batman's character. Now, let's talk about the bad guys. There are several in this. They have like three elements of Batman villains. You have the gangsters with Falcone, you have the kingpins with Oswald Cobblepot, and you have the deranged psychopath with the Riddler. Falcone was very excellently played, and the way that he manipulated all of the situations within the movie was just fascinating, and you didn't really catch on to how much he was manipulating until near the end of the movie. I was like, wow, okay, this guy, wow. You have Oswald Cobblepot, who knows that he could be in charge of everything, but chooses not to be. Even though he's like the facilitator for everyone else. Like everything goes through Oswald Cobblepot to work before it goes anywhere else. And then the Riddler. Okay, those of you who have seen my more popular videos know that I really like the Riddler as a villain. I think he is cool. I thought for a long time he was underutilized, and they brought him into this movie, and my goodness, they did a really good job with him. Basically, what they did was they took the Riddler and they turned him into the Zodiac Killer. Now, just some spark notes. The Zodiac Killer was this villain from the 70s. I believe it was the 70s. Real life unsolved crime, where he would commit a crime and then he would leave a cipher that had a riddle on it, and you had to solve the riddle and unlock the cipher to find out his cryptic messages. We still haven't been able to find everything. We have his ciphers, but so far no one's been able to solve all of them because they're extremely complex. And that's basically what they did here with the Riddler. The Riddler, fitting into that theme of vengeance for the past, he's looking into the corrupt nature of Gotham City, and he's punishing the people who were corrupt in the past, but then like people like Thomas and Martha Wayne, who he saw as corrupt, he's putting out his vengeance on Bruce Wayne. So like he's deranged. He's punishing the wrong people for the wrong crimes, and it really creates like this cool catalyst. Like so often in movies starring superheroes, the villain doesn't really represent a whole lot. Like the villain will just represent like, oh no, society is broken. I see that one a lot. Um, Batman villains, oftentimes the villain just kind of represents like pessimism, but Riddler really played well into the theme of the movie, and it was so well done. It was great, and it was dark and it was disturbing, and it really played to what I always thought the strengths of the character were. Uh, they did the Riddler really well in this. They didn't try to turn him into a joke. They just made him a scary villain, and it worked out really well. Let's talk about things that I wish were a little bit better. The movie is 3 hours long. That is a long time to be making a movie. Well, not be making a movie, but that's a long time to sit down and watch a movie. I had that problem with the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, where the movie was really long. When you make a movie, you kind of have to have the responsibility of making a movie that is a reasonable length of time to watch. I don't think there was any fluff in this movie necessarily, or at least not a whole lot of fluff, but there maybe could have been one story point less, or one character less, because that 3 hours is hard to watch sometimes. You have to schedule out 3 hours if you're going to watch a movie like that. Yeah, that's like the only thing keeping me from wanting to go watch it again is that 3 hour runtime. Other things to note, I mean, I just thought that the movie was fantastic. It's a great movie. It's really well done. It's just, you gotta keep that in mind. The time commitment to watching a movie like that. Now, this is Comic Crash. We like comic books. So let's see, if you liked the Batman, comics you really should be reading, you need to read Batman Year One. For one point, like they took a lot of points from that story, but also uh, this movie kind of felt like it would have been a natural sequel to Batman Year One. So check out Batman Year One. The Long Halloween, a lot of elements of the movie came from The Long Halloween. Then there's also probably Batman Hush. If you like the Batman Catwoman dynamic, that's the best book to explain that dynamic. Or you know, I think it was Tom King's run on Batman fairly recently. He did a really good job kind of turning Batman and Catwoman's romance into something that meant something. It wasn't just like a passing thing. I don't know. So that's kind of what I would recommend as far as comic books. But the movie, like I said, it was fantastic. I would recommend it to you if you're kind of over the formulaic Marvel style of movie. That was one thing I really appreciated. I've noted that like uh, Marvel movies have this very specific formula, and it's been seeping into like the Star Wars theatrical movies. Kind of followed that same kind of formula, and even DC started following that formula. Like Wonder Woman 84 specifically, and Shazam especially, followed a very Marvel formula that made them feel like Marvel movies. This wasn't formulaic. This was a different kind of superhero movie than we've seen in years. Dare I say, the last movie that was this unique was Man of Steel. It, it was really cool and different. So if you're interested in seeing a different kind of superhero movie, this is it. Uh, if you're interested in crime noir or a movie that has like horror elements but isn't really a horror movie, then this is really good. It's a great movie. Just keep in mind also that, like I said earlier, it is probably the most disturbing Batman movie I've seen, going far and beyond anything we've ever seen before as far as the elements of torture and the elements of villainy. So just keep that in mind if you have a weak stomach or if you have aversions to that kind of thing. And I will always, 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 always be an advocate for people choosing to be able to walk out of a movie if it disturbs you. So don't be afraid to do that if you need to. But overall, it is a great movie, technically speaking, and story-wise, just fantastic. So that's the thoughts I have for you. If you've seen the movie, hop in the comments and let me know. We could talk about that because it was really interesting, and I would like to add more to this conversation. Maybe make some videos on more specific topics, but we'll see. Let me know if you want to see that kind of thing. And until next time, thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and remember to always be your best self.